Hello everyone. I'm very happy to have this chance here today to share with you some of my ideas. And actually, 1 week ago, when I received the email sent by Gao Mingzhen, suggested me to say something here, share in 10 minutes. And I was thinking, what kind of thing I need to share here? Because I am studying here now as a visiting scholar, so I am the beneficiary from the higher education here. And my daughter is now studying in the preschool in Vista. And every day on our way home, she will told me today how our teacher played with some music games, and today how do we do an experiment. So many things are very meaningful and very interesting because I can see the smile from my daughter's eyes. So I think my daughter is also the beneficiary from the elementary education here. So, and my research field is vocational education. Although from some audience here from China, you may know that the status of vocational education in China is not as equal as academic education. So it's weak in China. But here it's quite different. Here the academic education has the same status with academic education. So it's quite equal. And for my job, for my research, for my future development, so I decided today I will not share with you my thinking on higher education or elementary education, but my research field, vocational education. And when I answered the question, can Chinese learn from Finnish vocational education? The answer is absolutely yes. But then later we will to think what, how, and why. Because I only have 10 minutes, so I just share with you four points here. The first one is about the VAT system. In my opinion, China can learn from the flexible paths in both VAT and academic education system. On the left, you can see is the chart in Finnish education system. It's very flexible. It's very flexible. If you study in a vocational school, then later you want to transfer to further academic study, then it's okay. So here you have different choices. But if you study for master degree in academic field, later I found that maybe I want to change, then it's also your choice. So it's very flexible. But in China, the situation now here you can see here means partly available with conditions applied. So just several, I don't know the percentage, not too much, have the chances to transfer into academic level. It's from our cultural, historical reasons that more students, maybe most of the students here, teachers here, maybe we have similar experiences. We will try our best from elementary school to university, to doctor study, to master study, try to choose the academic way. And because all the teachers and our parents told us that's the best choice for you. And now I finished my doctor study and I found that if I do something technical, maybe I can do much better. So, but I have no choice. But now I also found some interesting things in academic field. But the choices are not for everyone. And my tutor here, Professor Anya, she told me 20 or 30 years ago, the situations are quite similar in Finland. So maybe sometimes I am a little passive on how can we change the situation, the status now of the vocational education in China. But yesterday in another forum, she has the opinion that in the global cooperation, global economic development, things are changing. So maybe I should be more positive on the future. Maybe 20 years, 30 years, maybe the status of VAT in China will be changed. In my opinion, the advantage of the flexible change is for students to make their own choice, and Master of Technical Majors provides the opportunity for students upgrading their demand, their need. That means when you finish study in University of Applied Science here in Finland, if you want to upgrade your skills, you have chances, you have choices here. And the things are changing now in China. You can see from this policy, it's quite new. It's published in 2016. You can see from this action plan for innovation and the development of higher vocational education in China. It's a little similar as the University of Applied Science here in Finland. Here, promoting the combination of industry and education to cultivate professional degree postgraduates and carry out the feasible study of setting up a degree of specialist higher vocational education. So I guess our dream will come true, maybe in 10 years. The English may not correct because I translated them, so my English is limited, sorry. But if you can understand the meaning, that's okay. And my second point is the multi-forms of VAT. China has just begun the reform which Finland had on apprenticeship in the past 2 years. Some experience from Finland will be referenced, but some will be different. And you can from the chart here, in Finland, there's almost 50% vocational training programs are operated in enterprises. They call apprenticeship training, and it's also popular now in UK, in Switzerland, in many European countries. But in China now, maybe 90% or 95% are still operated. Programs are operated in vocational colleges, vocational schools, and the technical school and technician college. Maybe you are confused with the two names. That's also an historical phenomenon. Some technical schools and technician colleges, they have the similar function as a vocational system, but they are managed by Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security. At the beginning, maybe 20 or 30 years, it was a kind of school run in the enterprise to cultivate their own skilled workers. But 20 years or 30 years ago, usually the worst students in academic study choose this way. If they have better choice, they will go to the education system, schools or colleges. It still exists. But something surprised me last May, when I went to one famous technician college in Guangzhou. I was surprised to find that on their apprenticeship study room, all the teaching ways are learned from German. And for some majors, they now have the experiment cooperating with Sweden. So in some aspects, they do really good than some vocational colleges. That surprised me. And later I found that they have strong sponsorship from this department. And I interviewed the leaders in this department, and they told me now in Guangdong, China, it will soon begin the cooperation of the two departments, because they have already realized we have to make full use of our different experience on education and on management of the enterprises, training in enterprises. They have much better experience here. So if the two departments work together, it will be maybe much be beneficial for the future. But I don't know, because it's two different groups. I don't know how well it goes, but we just wait and see. And there's two new policies just happened 2 and 3 months ago. You can see from here, the last month, the 6th Department, Ministry of Education, the General Office of State Council, Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security, they began to work together to make this policy. That's to push the better cooperation with the vocational schools and enterprises. So it was very which word? 激动人心 embarrassing. Yeah. Sorry. And what can China then, in my opinion, the first one, workplace learning, research, and practical experience. I found one book, Research the Workplace Experience, and I found that 3 writers, 3 professors are from our university, Tampere University. So, and I also searched some in recent 5 years, many research papers written in English on workplace learning are in Nordic countries. And I don't know why, in Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, and also here. The second one is the reform experience on apprenticeship. Just as Yu Zuocai introduced just now, how in the past 20-30 years, how did Finland then from the experience, maybe dual system from German or in European countries, how did Finland then the experience and also mixed with the innovation by yourself? That's the thing we can learn from Finland. So that's good idea. Maybe later I will try to read more about the history of past 30 years. How did Finnish made the reforms on vocational education? But the challenge is that the data in last year, 12,380 colleges and schools in China, and then this number of enrollment per year. It's large population. So one large population exists there. The reform will be given. Okay, 0 minutes. Okay, there's 1 more minute. The relationship between VAT and the economic provides demand on quality requirements in China. And in the past 2 years, the Finnish experience on VAT teacher training and equality measures exported to China has proved to be welcome. I know with Tan Yu-Chen and some other people here, they are working hard on the education export to China. And some of my friends, they told me the teacher training are welcome in Guangdong province. So it's very meaningful job. And here are something in the process. So from here you can see China is changing quickly in vocational education. Every 1 or 2 or 3 years, you will find new policies, new directions, new changes in China. And the challenge is that, in my opinion, in the future, there will be more mutual cooperation on research-based training. That means the vocation in China is just like a tree. Now it tries to have the strong branches of the tree. But what we can learn from Finnish, and what's the future education export to China? We need to do some research to know what kind of thing they really need. Okay, last page, just delete. The culture will also influences the development of VAT. Because you can see here the Confucianism. It has the history more than 2,500 years, and it's the main idea influences the education in China. And also the empirical examination last in China more than 1,300 years. So I think we cannot ignore the power of the history and the culture. We can do something to change, but it will be the K kinders. But if we change our mind, in Finland, the idea in education is less is more. But in China, it's more competitive. But is competitive bad? Maybe not. If I am not competitive, why am I studying here today? I study very hard. I have to competitive in education. So maybe we can judge the education in another way. So my question is, less is more vs competition, promoting or hinder VAT development in global environment. So we just wait and see. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen Jiang, for this very inspiring comparative sharing. I think this is a good question for us to continue to discuss in the panel, like whether less is more is better or competition is better. And as we already hear insights from researchers, so now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Tan Yuchen from DAMC. She will share you with some insight from practitioners. Now the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Do you like the talks?
Yeah.
If you like it, raise your left hand. Okay? I have to say everyone's hand. If you like the talks very much, raise your right hand. Okay. You know why I ask you to do so? Because I want to check how many of you are really like the talks and how many of you are playing WeChat and Facebook or Twitter. That's why I want you to have your both hands up so you could focus on the last speaker's session. But I will give you some surprise, and I would like to ask you to look back your childhood. Do you still remember who is your first teacher in your life, since maybe from your childhood? Do you remember who is your first teacher when you are in preschool or grade 1?
Yes.
Okay. And then please think over who was the teacher you like the most and you appreciate the most. Do you know her or his name? Yes. Okay, great. And then I have to ask you, how many of you have lived in Finland over 3 years? How many of you are in Finland less than a year? Okay. There are so many differences between China and Finland. I don't have any presentation, I don't have any PowerPoints. I wanted to make this my 10-minute talk more dynamic. Because you are here in this room, you have experienced the most differences between Chinese education and Finnish education. But there is a question that most of my students, especially from university level students, when they come to Finland, they thought there is no big deal. I thought maybe my learning experience or study experience even much richer in China, because here I feel lonely, I feel that I have nothing to do after the lectures. This is so many messages I have received from my students. But I have to think over why. Because so many researchers have already proved that Finnish education is not only in basic level, but also the higher education level. It's also doing great job as well. But why the foreign students and international students somehow are disappointed with this? I think there is a lesson that we have to learn. How to be actively integrated with the local students, with the local lecturers. Because the Finnish children, they are educated in the way that independently, you are responsible for your own learning process. They have educated in this way. So when the students moved from the primary school to higher education, they already know what they want to learn, how they will learn, how they arrange their daily learning process, what courses they want to select, what social activities they want to participate. They don't need any teachers or tutors or professors or administrators to teach them, to tell them how to do and what to do. This is the big difference. So when the Chinese students, and they come from a culture that everything has already organized by class representatives, by the student unions, by the school instructors. They were told what to do, how to do. Suddenly, they are so free, explored in the situation that in Finland, no one actually cares about what you are doing every day. They suddenly lost themselves how to do in my everyday work. So I think we have to change this, mindset. How to get out of your comfort zone, from your home culture, home country, to a very international, special, or completely different learning environment. This is our job. We have to move the first step to be actively involved, integrated with the local culture and environment. This is our students' job to do. Today I'm going to share about this from the practical level, what I am doing, how I promote the Finnish education to China in different levels. Actually, Tampere University of Applied Sciences, we are a vocational-oriented university. Well, many teachers come to DAC for visiting or for short training or for long-term based staying. They asked me a very quick question. Could you tell my Chinese colleagues, do you have quick tools? Do you have the secret Panadol box? They ask for quick fix. They ask tools. They ask for a magic medicine or magic recipe. If you get this recipe, your school will develop faster. And the students and teachers and professors will be more happy and more satisfied. It is if I get this magic box, I will solve all the problem. Don't tell me this. We have a long history about education, philosophy, history. We don't want to listen to your concepts. Just tell me, how are you doing things in everyday life? Give me the magic, secrets. We want to have that. It is like a secret truth. But here in Finland, I agree very much with the Professor Tsai. The patience, the time, and the process is very important. When we look back the Finnish education, like 40 years ago, there are so many similarities, just exactly like our current situation in China. Take an example like vocational education. 30 years ago, there are 338 vocational schools in the secondary level. Few hundreds vocational schools located in the Finnish, different cities or regions. In order to make the citizens more competitive, qualified labor force, they started this merging process, upgrading their schools, become a higher vocational level. After 20 years of merging and upgrading, they formed the University of Applied Sciences in 1990s because of the economic crisis, the 1992 years. 1/3 people, young people, laid off, losing jobs. So the society and the economic are really in a panic situation. But the education is the only way to solve the problem. That's why how the University of Applied Sciences reformed to around 30 university level. So University of Applied Sciences provide university level vocational oriented education. So DAMC is one of the 30s. Now the merging process is still going on. What we can bring our experience to China, it is not the result. When you look at the Finnish society, okay, people are rich and we have such a beautiful welfare system, but Rome is not built in a day. In these fast changing societies, there is one thing has never changed. that is a Finnish dream. What is a Finnish dream? Do you Finns, you tell me, what is a Finnish dream? The dream has remained unchanged in the past 40 years. Education for all, regardless your family condition, your personal condition, but to have a good education, good quality school in your nearby community. That is a Finnish dream. So other policies, regulations, laws, rules are served for this dream. Education for all, fairness, equalness, high quality. So there are many different ways to do so, but to serve one eternal goal, education for all. This is the core value and conceptions in Finnish society. So what we are doing as a DARC, we are vocational education sector, but DARC global education, we are also doing the primary education, preschool education. Here, I will answer Mr. Gao's question. Your dream is to bring Finnish preschool, kindergarten education concepts to China. And I'm here to assist you to realize your personal dream as an education counselor in Finland. So we could even develop more working method how to bring this good practice to China. And we also involved in this basic education. We train the primary school principals, leaders, not only in vocational level, but from daycare managers. We call it and we also educate the better school rectors. But in Finland, we are a small country, only 5 million. China is billion. How can we provide our education service to the vast demands? Of course, not everybody is able to come to Finland to visit our local schools, to experience the real, authentic learning environment. And we can send our researchers, teacher trainers to China with the domestic local trainings. And I have to correct one word about the education export. Finland has no meaning to make the education export, because export is something you are make a lot of money, you are make a profit. And I have to correct one misunderstanding about the education in Finland is free. It is not free. For many of you who are working in Finland, you pay 1/3 of your salary for tax. And this is not the free education, but the parents' prepaid service. Our grandparents paid the education for us, and we are parents paid the education for our children. This is the positive circle. So education is not free. When we are doing the education training, we have to cover certain cost. So this is we would say we can bring the Finnish education to China to share the experience, to communicate instead of the education export. But we have to also share the cost. That is the point. I hope after these talks we could have more this dynamic, interactions, because we are the education ambassadors, the Chinese students, scholars, and we should work closely in future. Thank you all.
Thank you. Interesting and also inspired to hear about the practical ideas about Finnish education and how Chinese people can learn and communicate. And we have here a lot from Chinese scholars, and then mainly our perceptions about Finnish education, how to learn about Finnish education. Next, I will welcome Paula to share with us her experience from a Finnish perspective, like about Chinese education. Yeah.
Good morning. I wholeheartedly thank Ka-Ming Cheng to invite me to be a panelist here. I represent here the Chinese viewpoint from my 2 experiences in teacher exchange in Guangzhou. That just 2 weeks ago I came from there, and I was so enthusiastic about that. Okay. So, some practical viewpoints how education in China was from what I saw out of it. So, first of all, So the airport shuttle that leaves from South China Normal University schedules change rapidly and in an unexpected way, unpredictable way. So you got to be there in time to catch the bus. And like Professors Hölpä and Hai already 2012 said in their working paper series in SEREC that the change in China is so quick that you really can't understand it very easily. It doesn't happen anywhere else. Most importantly, I think the impact of governmental expenditure that they put on higher education has risen from 11 billion kwai to 464 billion kwai in 20 years. I don't think it happens anywhere else. And all the enrollment rate of new students, it has gone up so much. So that's the biggest lesson I learned in China. I went to visit to psychiatric wards because I'm a psychiatrist myself. I teach at medical faculty here in Tampere. And Mental Health Act law was implemented in China 2013. Our law is from 1990. And the most important thing that goes with mental health law is how you can treat patients involuntarily in mental institution if the patient is so ill that he needs to get to hospital whether he wants or not. So in Finland, doctors have the power. In US, court has the power, and in Asia, family has the power. So if it happens that the patient needs to be taken in the hospital, doctors will ask the family members if they allow the patient to be taken in or not. And if they don't, then the family is responsible to take care of the patient. They can do that at home, but if something happens, then they are responsible for that. In severe cases, if the patient is violent against other people, then doctors can ask second opinion and even third opinion, and eventually a council, kind of, to get independent views. And in some cases, they can take the patient in the hospital, even against the family's views, in very severe cases. So the family, meaning of family is totally different from ours. These are symptom checklist 90 questionnaires that I also use in my research in addicted mothers. And in the ward that I show you the picture, it's from Sun Yat-sen Hospital in Zhuhai, very modern, high-end top hospital. And they just opened the ward last fall. In our hospital here, Tampere University Hospital Psychiatric Ward, we have maybe 3 questionnaires for every patient when they come in. So they have 5 to 10. Of course, it's got to be bigger. But the questionnaires and instruments they are using are the same. And I got the image that they really want to get into the English papers, to be worldwide known in academic research. So they have to publish in English and get to English papers. And for that, they also want foreign experts to come to the country and publish together and get to that thing. And it was in the news in Finland actually that said that China has determined to be the #1 in education by 2050. So that's also the means how they get there, to publish in English. This is magnetic stimulation devices on the ward. They have 4, we have 1. And what else is different in this picture is the lady in front. So if you go to mental hospital here with a camera, you are friendly kicked out of the ward. So, but I don't know what it is, but the thinking about individual things and that stuff is different. So that's my view, what I saw there. This is amount of personnel in another hospital in Jinan, maybe 3rd affiliated hospital in Guangzhou. In these wards they have maybe 40 patients, and this is the amount of personnel. Left side doctors and right side nurses. so it's huge. In Pitkäniemi Hospital here in Nokia, we have, on one ward we have maybe 15 patients, and in good days, one doctor, bad days, half doctor. In these days, it's a bit difficult now. There should be 2 doctors, but we lack doctors at the moment. So family members are in the ward. One patient room have 3 beds. There are 3 patients in one room. And then they got one family member for each patient sleeping there also in tent bed or something. So also during the hospitalization, family members take care in the treatment. What I did not expect was some prejudgment I encountered in Finnish academic world, not in this group, but in some other circles. I understood that the view about Chinese education is based on views from 90s, about the days when borders first were opened and many tourists went there. So it was a bit old-fashioned. This is my course plan. What I wanted to, of course, the subject about mental health issues, but I wanted to teach the working methods. That was most important, what I tried to do there, and see how it works there. If Chinese students can benefit the same teaching methods that I use here. So problem-based learning, according to some recent research, it says that 60% of the biggest Chinese universities use it, but often not very big amount. So they may have one course that use it or something little. It was invented in States, but it has come less popular there these days because it takes lots of resources. It costs more to teach with this method, but it's more effective. So workshops, seminars, video examples, evidence-based medicine and discussions, and minimal amount of lectures, because lectures are not efficient in teaching in general. And it was very funny to hear you all talking, because my practical viewpoints are pretty much the same what you have shown in research. So I went there to share my scientific knowledge, modern teaching methods, what I've learned here, teaching in 10 years. And for example, this is a short example of one case that was longer, of course. A young man with severe anxiety symptoms talks to his mom every day over the phone and is crying on the phone. And Finnish students would very readily say that that's pathological, that no young man should be calling mom so often and not be crying over the phone. So he's a pussy. But Chinese students said that, okay, that's very nice that he has such a close relationship to mom that he can really talk. That's special, that's really good. So that's what I learned next. So I sailed to China with my boat. That's not a dock, it's a boat. So I had binoculars that I can get a very sharp, good vision, but quite small area. So I see disease, symptoms, signs, and such medical stuff that I'm learned to do when I studied in Tampere in the 80s. So in China, I found my periscope under the boat, so see the underwater world. And Chinese students, to my surprise, I didn't ask, but they began to talk about family, history, even politics as part of the reasons what affect people's mental health. Finnish students don't do that. We have learned them the medicalization efficiently. They don't see things that way. So feedback from students was very nice. They liked the different teaching methods, and they were very ready to interact and discuss. They learned from each other in the discussion groups. And also, for example, suicide was one of our topics, and they said that they had already learned psychiatry. They had another course. Some of them had gone through that course already, but that's not a topic that they had been talking about earlier. So basically it was positive feedback. 2 students said that they would have also liked more theoretical teaching among the practical workshop kind of working method. And the teacher is very lovely and dedicated. I want to share that. But also, some of the students told that their choice to go to study clinical medicine, including Western medicine, wasn't so easy all times, because the parents didn't always support that. They would have wanted them to go to learn, some students, traditional Chinese medicine and not to clinical medicine. We were talking about attitudes to mental illnesses, and in those discussions they told about that. So if you learn to be a medical doctor in China, of course you have to learn traditional Chinese medicine also. And it's integrated in the curriculum. Kids and education are of paramount importance, and parents are really ready to invest in it. I was talking with one guy in antique shop. He gave the tea ceremony thing and was telling about his family. They had one kid, and they were at weekends they took walks in campuses in Sun Yat-sen, very beautiful campus, and all the campuses, and tried to get the 10-year-old son to get enthusiastic about studying. And they would have liked to have another kid also, but they said that it's too expensive, that they cannot afford another kid, because they want to use their money and income in kids' education so much, and it's pretty expensive. So family and education are most important. Lots of investment on that, on family and governmental level. Education is booming, and there are big dreams of going abroad. I found it difficult to understand what the education actually is, because for medical doctors there are different kind of programs, from 4-year to 8-year programs. MBBS, clinical doctor, traditional Chinese doctor, undergraduate, graduate, so I'm not quite sure. Like in Finland, it's very clear. If you go to med school, you graduate in 6 years and you become a medical doctor, and that's it. That's different. And it was a bit difficult to find information in English in the net, but the biggest universities have international programs. So in the future, I would like to have some comparative courses on some field. This is just an example, Mental Health Act or whatever, to give a course together with Chinese teacher. That would be most interesting to me. And also, for example, Finnish Psychiatric Association, where I'm part of it, like planning their national Congress days. Last year they had one issue was about differences in mental health law in different countries. So that was my experience. Teaching is learning. That's what I learned. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. It's very interesting to hear all this as a Chinese here. Yeah. Next, I will invite all our panelists come to the stage to take a seat. Then we have a panel discussion. Because I think we are a bit behind schedule. It's a good sign. It means that every scholars and every speaker have many to share. So, but it's also another side, so us that as an organizer, next time we should be better in the time management. But maybe have for the panel discussion, we shorten it to be 20 minutes, and after that we have 20 minutes audience ask and answers, question and answer. So our whole event will be last a bit longer. If you have some other issues to do after 12, you can feel free to go. If not, I still hope you can join us until the end. So please take the seats, panelists. We can start the discussion. Yeah, feel free to take. I think we are in Finland, so it's quite equal for each seat. It's okay. It's equal here in Finland. Everything is the same. Yeah. You can just reshare this. Yeah. So maybe first, I think we can, for each panelist, you can reflect. If you have any other question for other panelists, you can start to ask now to reflect on others' presentation. You want to say something? Maybe 周老师 you can start. Like to comment to the others. Yeah, if you have yeah.
I don't know. My topic is trust. I don't know how many people interested in this topic. Why I interested in this topic? Because in China, trust crisis, I think, is very important. A big problem in China. So I think this is common problem because China is in development. For example, I just share with you a phenomenon. It become a social problem. The old man fell down the ground, but nobody did not dare to help him to up. So I come to Finland. The trust is short to me. I think everywhere many people trust each other. So I think the Finnish education is success and focus on the air from the world. I think the trust is very important factor. So I have read a paper with Professor Tsai, and this paper have published in People's Education. So that's my why I introduced my topic. Yeah.
May I have a question to Professor Zhou? And trust is very important. And my question is how to build the relationship between the students and the teacher and the family, have a trust system. And all the experts, all the Ministry of Education officers, they told me they don't have the monitoring for the teacher, they don't have the evaluation even for the teacher, but how to build the trust relationships between the parents, teacher, and students. That's a really very hard question.
Yes.
But I told you, I had an experience when I talked to the parents of Finnish people. They said they have an APP. With the teacher, I think Ivy and Paula, you have the children. They have the APP. And the teacher will tell the parents, is there the children's late or absent, or how many times did the students raise their hand to ask a question, and how many times they have the right answers, and how many times they move from the classroom and look outside. All the details. That means the parents monitoring the teacher all the time. Can you understand what I said? This is one thing. Is that true?
Someone, yes.
Someone, yeah. At least in Helsinki, they have the APP. I don't know. They can see what happened in the classroom all the time by parents, because the teacher will do everything in the classroom. They said they absent 5 minutes, they late or they absent in the morning. They will write down, and the parents will understand the situation directly. This is one thing. And some people said they don't have too much examination in the primary school or the elementary education period. I was told that. But they have 5 semesters in primary school in Finland. 2 months as 1 semester. Each semester all the subjects have the examination. Am I right, Ola?
What kind of examination?
Each semesters they have the examination.
For little kids, like
In primary school.
Yeah, in primary school they have tests, but they don't give the grading, like the numerical grading, but they give some word, like
They
how
don't
the
have
kid
ranking, they don't have, but these 5 semesters examination result will evaluate what kind of school, I mean the upper secondary school you will go.
Usually, like there are feedback from the school, but it's not grading in the sense of giving very strict numbers. But I think in Finland still at the moment the situation is that the kids can go to whatever school they want at that stage. And even in high school level they can choose the school pretty freely. Only when they get to University of Applied Sciences, then they have to have good test results to get certain schools. It has changed a little bit, but I think that's still the case. And yeah, I think there is monitoring. Some parents are exhausted about the feedback they get from the school by internet, like messages at least every week. So there is lots of information they get from the teachers' work.
They have a lot of information from the teachers, what kind of textbook they choose, what kind of subjects they will teach, and what's the aim, what's the target. At least the parents understand what happened in the classroom or in the pedagogy. I think they have the method to build the trust between the family and the teacher. They're not trust, no meanings, no matter, the trust. Whatever you have done, I'll trust. No, they understand clearly what happened there. That's my understanding.
I would like to only add something little, because I have 2 children. My daughter is in preschool, in daycare at the moment, and in autumn she will be preschoolers. And my son, he's 8 years old, he's in grade 1. Actually, we have this Hanami system. It is not, as a parent's perspective, I'm not actually monitoring the teachers, what is she or he doing in the classroom, but this is like a school, teacher, students, and parents. It's like a learning community. We keep this information transparent, so the parents know what exactly happened in school. But we don't have the attitude to monitor, to inspect what is teacher doing in the classroom. I think on the other hand, the trust is not simply built, I trust you, but based on what? So this is about the teacher qualifications. In Finland, all teachers are highly educated. These intensive trainings make the teachers' teaching trustable. It is like we are going to the airport, we want to take Finnair from Helsinki to China. If you don't trust the pilot, are you dare step in the cabin? So in Finland, we trust the teacher get enough trainings. They are qualified with their own professional field. So they are professionalism, like a surgery in the hospital give your heart surgery. So we must trust. This trust based on their trainings and qualifications. So without the qualifications, we can't trust. I think that there is a solid foundation before we started to trust the teachers.
Sorry. My name is Jani Kohonen, and right now I'm the coordinator of international education at the University of Tampere, but until January of this year I was working in Helsinki Male After School as a teacher there. And in regards to this app, or feedback system. It's more like a two-way communication channel, and the general vibe of that is not for anyone to monitor anyone, not to monitor the teacher and not to monitor kids, but kind of like a mutual communication channel to work towards common goals. And we also have a system. Within that system, there's lots of ways to give positive feedback, and we're really encouraged to use that. So it's not only monitoring in the sense of giving a punishment, but most of the feedback I gave was some positive markings. I might write some words, or there are some automatic things like you were very active, or you helped your peers today, or I can see that you are trying to do better than before. And there's also about the grades. Grades in Finnish schools are much less important than in China, so that's just maybe less than half of the grade. Of course, often they are related to the actual grade you get, but that's not the main thing that decides too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the trust is in the culture, because my example comes from psychiatry. I told you that doctors have the power to send patients to mental hospital, and actually patients and family members are okay with that. They trust doctors as well, like teachers. And another thing, I agree with Professor Hai about Finnish education system, that it cannot be exported in itself, but should be adjusted to the culture and doing collaboration. And that's why I think it would be really interesting and maybe beneficial to contribute some common education programs. For example, in my own work, I tried to get my own students, like on the 5th or 6th year students, to go with me to China, being a teacher assistant. But that was too much bureaucracy in Finland. It wouldn't work out.
Talking about bureaucracy, I think there's another issue, like Dr. Chen Jiao and also other speakers also mentioned about this university and the governments and also teachers relation. I think this is something also different between Finland and China, because I think in Finland, university have more autonomies, and not only the teachers are trusted, but also university. But in China, we always see governments there, like if something happens, we all feel that the government is responsible for that. So like, if we're thinking about learning from each other, so in this case, what do you think, like how can we learn and adjust to this different system? Yeah. Any panelists?
I want to talk about the role of government. And just now when I gave the report, I mentioned the Chinese teacher training system, it's UGS, and I want to mention two words: efficiency, effectivity. Because you know, in China, if government doesn't connect universities and schools do not have motivation to connect universities to train the teachers. So I think we are different, but that doesn't mean UGS pattern is not as good as Finnish US model, because we have different national conditions. And here I observe at some schools, Finland has US pattern, training pattern, and yes, it's a good one, because teacher training become autonomous and flexible, and also you can wait patiently, because the changing will become gradually. Yes, and here, and at last you can find it will be surprising, amazing here. But in China, you know, China is developing fast. We have to push our teachers to work within 4 years. We need more teachers. You know, in Chinese classrooms, there are more than 40 students. It is good, Because in some rural country schools, maybe there are over 60 students or over 70 students in a classroom. So we need more teachers. How can we wait patiently? So we need government to work. It's different. And I do not think we should change. It is efficient. It is very efficient. Okay, this year, the graduates from my college, because you know the policy of China, okay, we can have second child kid. And now a huge demand for primary school teachers in my home city. So different, I think maybe something we can learn from each other, something we can learn from Finland, and something we can maintain.
Just now when I heard that Paula introduced your major, I'm quite interested, and I was thinking, am I anxiety, and am I a people with illness that I don't know? Maybe that's true. Before I came to Finland last year in August, now I can admit that I was anxiety, as many of my colleagues, many of my friends in family education. And just as you said, trust is based on how you trust the education the school can provide. My daughter, next year, this year, September, my daughter will go back and continue to study in the affiliated primary school of South China Normal University. And it was recommended almost the number one quality primary school in Guangzhou, but I am still not trust. That's the problem. So what I can do is pay most of my salary to buy extra education. So
you mean a family teacher or what kind of?
I mean the anxiety in family education is a common phenomenon. Maybe many parents, they did not realize that they have this anxiety. But why I realized, just after I arrived here, 1 month later, I felt that I'm very nothing. My daughter can read every day at school, can listen to the music, be happy, can dance. Maybe everything, every skill, that's not too much, but it's balanced development. For example, last semester, my daughter told me they went to the dancing classroom twice. But then I will think, do my daughter really lead so many dancing classes before I went to Finland? So that's the core, less is more. So I was thinking, maybe later I can do something to change my attitude in family education. But that's because my major is education. I have the chance to then to upgrade my ideas. But how about the people I know? I don't have the power to influence the others. So I guess the policy is the core. The people we from China, we all know that the teachers listen to the headmaster, the principal. The parents, we just follow what the teacher said. And the headmaster just follows the policy change. But I am 37 years old now, so I'm not experienced. But from my limited experience, I found that on different aspects, if you found problems here, problems there, you should be happy. Because you cannot always stay in darkness. You must see the sun, question. Just like the reforms in vocational education. In every aspect when you found, oh, there's problem here, then soon you will find a new policy come out. So I am a little positive. Now the anxiety, the trust between the parents with the primary school are very not comfortable for us. But I think since will be changed. For example, I teach the course microwave teaching for my students, and I will try to train my students to understand what's the difference of encourage students, not just said, oh, you are clever, you do bad, you do good, but just you draw well. And in this thing, you have tried to solve the problem by yourselves. That's the most important. So when I upgrade my ideas, I will try to influence my students, and most of them will be future teachers. So I think things are gradually changing. And there's one thing I feel very happy that in the last 2 years, from all the teacher training programs Tanyu provide, and also from the 公众号怎么说？ Yeah. Okay. Now we can read more and more short messages, short introductions of the Finnish education in different places in my WeChat. Then I think gradually it will change. One of my daughter's friends, mommy, sent two passages to me. It's about Finnish education. So that means while she stay in China, but she read the passage, she began to think, what's the difference? Just like the mirror. Maybe at the beginning we also, wow, so happy in Finland. Oh, we cannot change. But gradually you will change. For me, I have been here only 7 months, but now I try to help myself to on the much comfortable way in family education. So I think things will change gradually. And also, for example, when I joined Professor Aya's research group, maybe I cannot contribute so much here in such a limited time. But I am watching, I am learning, and I am reflecting. How do Finnish people do the research? How can you make the combination with the research to the policies to change the society? So I found that I can do something. Maybe my power is tiny, but every tiny strips together, it will be a river. So I am positive, and I think I am very lucky to be here, because 2 years ago I was trying to visit in America, because most of Chinese education we learn from America. But last month I saw an article. It's written by one professor in Cornell University, and the title is "How Can American Learn from Finnish Education?" So I read the abstracts one by one. Yeah, that's true. So I think it's my opportunity. I feel very lucky that many American universities refused me. So I have a chance here, and my life is totally different. My idea. So that's my idea on trust, on anxiety, on many things, and I am also positive. I trust the Chinese government will make policies here and there and everywhere. Just a little time.
Thank you, all the professors. So I have something to share. Talking about happy, we know that Finland is the happiest country in the world. But I think our students in China, they are not happy. Because in Finland, if you like dance, you go to the dance school. If you like computer science, you learn computer science. And you just do what you want to do. And that make learning as a hobby. But in China, parents told us that if you want to earn more money, you need to have a good job. If you want to have a good job, you need to have a good degree in good universities. But how to enter the good universities, you need to pass the entry examination with a high grade. That make us from the when we were like 6 years old, then we start to learn, and we learn a lot, and it makes the learning as a task for us. So I think no one will treat a hobby like a task. because that makes us unhappy. So when we are in the universities, sometimes we will ask ourselves why we want to study. So I think maybe we need to do something to help the students in China.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, I was visiting first-year management students in one university, and I asked them to write about their dreams. And many of them had a dream like, first I study hard and make lots of money in 5 years, and then I drive around the world with my wife and have fun. But first make the money. And one of them told us, okay, after the period of making money, he's gonna go to France, to nude beach, and sell sun cream. So then I thought that this is similar kind of thinking than like Finns, and different from that. That was my idea, and I guess it wasn't so true. But that Finnish and Chinese students, they take studying seriously. They first want to study and get good education and job, and after that do things like have family or have fun and go to France. But in US, for example, there are many young people who first want to have fun for 5 years and then become serious and do something. One example of primary care education that I think is excellent in Finland, I have 2-year-old grandson, and he goes to daycare 4 months now. Thank you. But he can tell 10 different birds by the sound of the singing, and he can tell stories, remember songs, and even calculate to 15. And he goes to daycare like 6 to 8 hours a day. The parents are going to work, so that's they are playing there, but they learn at the same time.
Anyone want to share a story? Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, maybe.
Thank you. This is a very insightful talks. I was able to see the dynamics of education like sports between Finland and China. So this is a very insightful discussion. From the various, from the first keynote speaker and also the resource persons, and I saw some of my classmates, I was thinking that there are some key ideas. There are some key ideas that probably travel across contexts quite well. And but then the traveling is one thing. But either you invited the Chinese scholar or either the Finns lecturer go there. There is a traveling of ideas. But then the other side of the journey is perhaps the translation. Initially I used to think that it was a transfer. The transfer signifies not really an equal footing between two partners. I tend to think that it is more like a translation. And I think your analogy about mirror is quite capturing the process pretty well. So my questions is, you are all the scholars here in Finland, and you go through the mirroring process as well, not only as an educator and researcher, but also as a mother. And it's a similar process that I'm going through right now. So what do you think the dynamic of translating, the challenges of translating these ideas from a Finnish context to your own context? Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. This is a very good questions. How to, from academic perspective, to interpret Finnish education practices or experiences in Chinese context. We have discussed a lot. There is no quick fix
to make any changes is not easy in any country, any society. It is always a slow movement, gradually, step by step, after many years. As we look back how Finnish education achieved today's success, it has been taken over 40 years with the same goal. So what we can do in China actually to make a clear goal, make a consensus, like the parents. I think the most people needed education is the parents in Chinese society. It's not the policymakers, it's not the teachers themselves, but the invisible external social force pushed the school had very little room to play, like academic freedom, teaching, autonomy. So what we can do is provide more opportunity for this international seminar, workshop, forum, conferences, make the education and research platform wider, bigger, not only in Tampere University, not only with this Sino-Finnish Research Center, but connect all the scholars and students in Finland and in China to build a dynamic channels, make this research message flow in both countries. And it's all about people. Everything connected to everything. And finally, after all, it's about people. How would you spread the concept, values? It's through you and me and us, actually.
So maybe do you have anything to add? Because we almost reach our time. Yeah. Okay. Please. Yeah. And we also thanks Paula for joining. She has another event to join next, so yeah, she has to leave first. Yeah.
Okay. So my question. Well, first of all, my name is Marko Teräs. I work for Finland University, which is a company established by 4 Finnish universities. One is University of Tampere, to collaborate with universities and governments abroad. But I want to thank Tanyu. I actually worked in Tampere before I moved to Australia in a similar position that you're doing now. It's good to see, yes, in 2012. So about cultural exchange, I actually lived 5 years in Australia, so I moved back to Finland a year ago, so I'm trying to learn to be Finnish again. What else? So, what I'm currently doing with Finland University is I've been doing lots of discussions with Chinese higher education institutions, for example, Tianjin Normal University also. And now a couple of institutions in Wuhan about joint degrees in masters in early childhood education and also teacher, like primary school teacher education. So my question is very concrete. So what do you see are the obstacles and opportunities of joint degrees between Finnish and Chinese institutions, higher education institutions? Obstacles? What are the things that prevent us doing good joint degrees between Finnish and Chinese higher education institutions? But also what possibilities are there? I'm not sure if you are the right people to ask this, but we're talking about collaboration. So I think this is something that every time I go to China, everyone puts, let's make a joint degree. So, but I see there's lots of obstacles both in China and in Finland to actually lift them up. So what are your ideas? Thank you.
I'm thinking maybe the right person to answer this question is Dr. Yu Cai. Would you like to share your experience?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can sit here.
The question is not easy to answer in a very short way.
But first, I would like to clarify a little bit the concept. So it's better to call dual degree rather than joint degree, because the joint degree somehow it has been encouraged, for example, in the Chinese long-term and middle-term education plan, so-called Education 2020, it's clearly said the joint degree is encouraged, but the current Degree Act hasn't been changed. So the legislation framework has already some barriers for the joint degree, but the Ministry of Education is fully aware of this. I think Mr. Gao knows very well, and is encouraging some piloting institutions in China to have some experiment, like Peking University already have some kind of joint degree with US partners, but this is only in the like test bed, because there some legal framework hasn't changed. So the joint degree, if you are moving towards that direction, it would be very difficult. So the starting point is dual degree, which is relatively easier because if the student can fulfill the requirement of both institutions, then it's okay. Then the challenge is how you can fund the education, joint education provision in a way is following the regulations of both sides, and sometimes some compromise are needed in terms of the scheduling, accepting of the credits. But if you make the dual degree operation, so it's relatively easy, and if you are going to China to offer the degree in China, relatively, is much, easier, because there is already a law or policies on Sino-foreign cooperation in running schools. And China has clear regulations. It has been operated for decades, and so there's hundreds of this kind of degree program already operated, but that is for foreign education provision in China. So that is a different way of operating, but it's still possible to link this kind of collaboration to the dual degree. But I think shortly about this, if you are interested, I can send you one article I wrote recently, which is unpublished yet.
Can I get it signed? I want to just sharpen my question. It wasn't about just getting some policy ideas, but they are important also. But to hear your opinions, now you've been to Finland, and well, you work with teacher education, I presume. So what do you see from your point of view, as a cultural point of view, like what are your opinions about this?
Actually, I'm very happy to share with you several of my limited experience. I used to work in joint education program. I am the admin person. I worked in the program with RMIT, Royal Melbourne Institute. Yeah, we cooperated on that joint program from 2003 to 2009. Then it finished. And I joined in that program in the last 2 years. But that 2 years gave me many thinking, because all the requirements rule my job is given from Australian University. And the courses, the Chinese teacher will co-teacher with the teacher from Melbourne for every course. So totally there are eight courses on the grade 2. And all the students, they are struggling in English studying the majors in English in China. And then most of the students, maybe the requirements are not as the same as the others to our university. They have to pass the entrance examination. But most of them succeeded. They can successfully continue the rest 2 years in Melbourne study, and some even gets master degree in Melbourne. And I found that every year, the manager in Melbourne, they will fly to our university and to have meeting, to interview students. How do you judge of your teachers? Is the teacher can teach the course in English and can be satisfied by the students. And the one teacher who teach accounting is not satisfied, then they changed. So in that program, and I also remember in 2008, there's third party evaluation department, maybe one branch from Australian government branch. They cooperated with that university together, fly to our university to do 3 days evaluation. And they found, and every year after the evaluation, there will be one report. And for some parts, we need to change, for some part, they need to change, and there's deadline for the change. And that program worked very well. But later, from 2008, we have another 3 programs with Curtin University in...
My PhD is from Curtin.
Okay. With Curtin University and with Aberdeen University in Scotland, I don't remember. And also one university in San Francisco. But later, when I worked in the other 3 cooperation programs, I found everything's different. The foreign universities, they gave us too much space to manage by yourself, and there's no requirements, no evaluation, no teacher training program, nothing. So I was disappointed with that 3 program, and now I'm not working in that program, but I still remember 2007 to 2009, in that 3 years, how I feel the quality management. So the culture here is different with China. So I think, in my opinion, if you want to do much better in the cooperation, in the joint education program, you should make the list of your requirement. Also some teacher training packages for the teachers, and also some mutual programs. Because in that program with Melbourne, all the teachers were sent to Melbourne, trained three months at the beginning. So all the teachers, they can follow the rules and they understand why you require us to do like this. And our test papers are sending from Melbourne, not made by our teachers. So I think that's why those kind of cooperation can be succeed, but the others are loosely in management. So maybe it can be helpful. Okay.
Thank you very much for all the speakers and our audience lively participation. I think we are over time, but it's okay. We have quite fruitful outcomes too. And as our Jan, do you have?
Can I have 2 minutes?
Okay, 2 minutes.
Some comments, like those mentioned that China shouldn't expect the magic box to take from Finland quickly to China. And too bad there's only 2 Finns, exactly, 3 foreigners.
I'm actually half Estonian.
Okay. Anyway, the sad fact is that many Finns also expect...
But we have some things behind. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Many Finns also expect the magic box to get the Chinese money, and there's not always the real effort to understand and appreciate the culture, so it works both ways. And for example, my students, when I was teaching Chinese in Helsinki, it was their parents who wanted them to start learning Chinese from the 1st grade, but the kids, most of them, they didn't have any hobbies related to China. They knew about it, but were not interested in it, and that's not really the way to get forward. And one thing I'm curious about, that now Finland still has a reputation of high PISA scores, but it might drop down in the next evaluations. And will Finland still be popular in China, or is this the last opportunity to do education export there? And also, is Finland perceived different from, say, Sweden, Germany, USA? Do we have similar or better, worse reputation, or do we have much of a reputation at all, except in scholarly circles? And last thing is that, or 2 last things, is that often when Finnish education is talked about in international context, there's so much praise, and we Finns often feel it's totally uncritical praise. Finnish teachers, for example, in the group discussions, we talk mostly about the problems, and we think there are several very severe problems and increasing problems in Finnish education, and we feel that it's on the verge of a crisis. And then we come to this kind of events, and oh, you're the best, you're so perfect, we want to make exactly like you, and I don't know about that. But the one thing about Finnish teaching education is that we emphasize that the method should be research-based. And I don't know, for example, like we examine how the teenager's brain works in different stages, what kind of methods they respond to. And I wonder about Chinese teacher education. Does it emphasize the research-based thing a lot or not? That I'm not familiar with. I'm kind of curious. Okay, that was quite many things, but I only have 2 minutes.
Yes, thank you. I think, because we almost reached the time. Yeah, so we can continue the discussion maybe in lunch. Like we are going to the I reserve a cabinet in the PNB in UTA, so we can all go together, continue our discussion in lunch. And I think those questions Yanni just raised is quite important too. I've been also reflecting on them, like by myself from time to time, like how to learn and exactly whether it's exactly that good and like in what way we can really learn or use. Like, yeah, so I will invite all the speakers and also audience and our organizers, like if you have time, then we go to PNB and then continue our discussion in the